So the next bill on the agenda is House File 686. This is Chair Muller's bill. Would you like to move your bill?
Yes, so moved, Madam Chair.
Great. Representative or Chair Muller moves that House File 686 be referred. Would you like to specifically refer it to the Judiciary, Finance, and Civil Law Committee?
Yes, thank you, Chair. That is my motion.
Great. We have the bill before us. There are no amendments filed on your bill, so please tell us about your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. So House File 686, some of you who were here last year will remember this bill. This is a bill that deals with carjackings. And I know a lot of you are aware of the increase in carjackings in not only Minnesota, but nationwide. And when I talked to my sheriff about this back before last year's session, they were talking to me about some technology that they can help use to be able to stop a person who has stolen a car from fleeing in really dangerous situations. So there have been a number of situations in Minnesota where somebody has stolen a car and then they flee from police, and it puts the people on the road at danger. It endangers law enforcement, and it endangers those who have stolen the car. Often are juveniles, and there have been deaths as a result of that happening. And so this technology is through the use of GPS trackers, where they can attach these trackers to a car that has been stolen and then be able to follow this car via the tracking system and effectuate a stop when it's safe to do so, rather than trying to do the high-speed chase. Or if they're calling off these high-speed chases, then of course the person gets away and you may not ever apprehend the suspect or have the evidence you need to prosecute that person later. And so this technology will be very useful in this situation. One of the problems that we have with our current statute system is that it makes this technology a crime to use these tracking systems. And I never looked into the history of this statute, but I assume it probably has to do with the fact when these tracking devices came out, we didn't want people just randomly placing them on other people's cars, stalkers, domestic abusers, that sort of thing. But there wasn't a carve out for law enforcement. Nobody probably could foresee this being used for this purpose at the time. And so what our bill is really trying to do is allow law enforcement to use these tools when a car has been reported as stolen. We really worked hard on the language last year with, we got some input from the ACLU, because we didn't want to have this to be sort of an indefinite use of these devices. The idea isn't that you're going to track this person to see who they're talking to, where they're going next. Really, we want law enforcement to be able to use these devices solely to be able to stop this car when it is safe to do so. And so that's some of the language about how long they can use these tracking devices. That is in the bill now. We also got some feedback from Mr. Neumeister. I know he's going to be testifying today too, that we incorporated. And then this bill was actually agreed upon. We voted on it in conference committee. It was actually agreed upon. So if we would have had an omnibus bill last year, this would have been in it. So I am just bringing it again and hope to have your support. And I do have a testifier.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Would your testifier like to step up? Thanks. And as a reminder, please state your name and your title for the record as you get started.
I'm Mike Martin. I'm an undersheriff with the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office. And I really appreciate your taking the time to hear this bill. This is really important to us. In early 2021, we saw a dramatic increase in the number of carjackings and auto thefts throughout the state, but in the Twin Cities area, it was even more pronounced. As a result, we created a carjacking and auto theft team and sought a grant, which we were able to receive from the Department of Commerce that helps us fund dedicated investigators who work these cases in Ramsey County, and also the County Attorney's Office in Ramsey County, County Attorney John Choi also received part of this grant that helps us do some intervention and prevention work with youth who are involved in carjacking and auto theft, whether they're repeat auto thieves or whether they're peripheral and first time in a car, it allows us the opportunity to meet with families and work with them to try to reduce this crime and get the kids the help they need. Over the last probably 5 to 10 years, we've seen a real development in the ability to track vehicles. New technologies allow us to do things like we have a Star Chase technology, which we can put in our squads. It actually will shoot what's I can only describe as a big Nerf gun. It shoots at the car. There's a adhesive on that sticks to the car, and then it allows us to not have to chase that car. It has a GPS device in it. We can back off. We can all monitor on our phones where that car is, and then we're not involved in a reckless chase or a chase that endangers the public. So it allows us to kind of head to the area where the car is going, but not have to drive at excessive speeds. And we can relay that information forward to other agencies and then hopefully wait till that car is stopped and then go in and arrest the offender, or wait for them to get out of the car and then arrest the offender. So we have that technology. We have pucks now that look like a little hockey puck that we can actually stick on a stolen car if we can get close enough, throw it into the bed of a stolen pickup truck, and do the same thing. We also have manufacturers who embed GPS technology into their vehicles. It used to be just high-end vehicles, but now most manufacturers have some type of a GPS system where they can track that vehicle. We can contact the manufacturer and ask them to turn that on and let us know where that is. And then there are other apps, for lack of a better term, I'll call them apps like OnStar and other applications that are aftermarket that might be on a car that allow us to track that vehicle. Right now, the current statute as it sits doesn't allow us to do that unless we make contact with the owner and get consent from that owner to track that vehicle. That's a lot of times that's just, we can't do it. We can't get a hold of the person fast enough, or we can't get a hold of them because they're out of the country or they're unavailable, have their phone off. So we really struggle sometimes to get a hold of those owners, so we can't use these devices. This bill, Representative Moeller's bill, would allow us to track that vehicle if it has been reported stolen. So if you report that your car's stolen, we will get a hit in our system when we run the license plate, so we'll know that it's an actually reported stolen, that there's a report that backs it up, and it would allow us to track that vehicle and hopefully have fewer pursuits, less damage to vehicles. It would be a disincentive to the auto thieves if they know that we can do this. And one of the other issues is we have certain types of vehicles that are very commonly stolen because they have flaws in how they're manufactured. Kias and Hyundais. And we have insurance companies now that are saying they won't insure these vehicles. And we have people that have had their car stolen a couple times. And unfortunately, it has a disparate impact on the people who can least afford it. Because a lot of these auto thefts are occurring in areas where people, because the cars are parked outside apartment buildings on the street, it's people who don't have garages. So I appreciate your support of this bill and would answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. And I understand that we have another testifier from the public, Mr. Neumeister, who would like to share some thoughts. And Mr. Neumeister, please state your name and title for the record.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Representative Mueller, my name is Rich Neumeister. 3 short points, which I also shared with the chief author of the bill before I did this. The bill is a work product of many voices that balances the rights, liberties, and privacy with the needs of law enforcement with the new technology. Don't kid yourself. New technology being used by law enforcement, and as I have done through data requests, like with the Stingray several years ago, Tony Webster with geofencing, these are battling against our privacies and liberties with what the law enforcement wants. And this was one of those as an example. And so through that work, we have come up with this bill. I bird-dogged it through the other body. I spoke with Mark Johnson today, earlier, about this. So I want to say thank you, Representative Mueller and Senator Mark Johnson, for working out this language. My second point. If you review the bill, you will see, I don't have it in front of me right offhand, you will see that after 24 hours, if you're still following, there has to be done a search warrant. And I have a concern about this. It's a point, and you might want to consider as the bill goes forward. It would be interesting to know what's the priority. As you know, a stolen car, as Deputy Sheriff Martin said, people need that car back to do the things that they need to do. But if it's going to go past more than 24 hours, I think as policymakers and the public, with the interconnection of technology, how long are they keeping following? You know, and I think that's a legit question. So if somehow, some way, there can be some type of mechanism, like there has been with body cameras and license plate readers, it's noted in a police report. So people like me or others who have an interest then can do some follow-through. The third point, Representative Mueller raised this. Again, to tell you how long I've been here for over 4 decades and a half, 46 to be exact, for sessions. 35 years ago, the statute that's being amended, I worked on with your predecessors, Representative Pugh, who became a judge in Dakota County, and Senator Randy Peterson, who became an appeals court judge. This law has not been revisited in 35 years. And with technology, case law, and all those kinds of things, policymakers, judges, police, county attorneys don't know really what all our rights are. And as Representative Mueller, Madam Chair, and I and others who went through this process have realized there needs to be some update so we can protect what is the new technology so our rights can be preserved. So if there's any of you who are interested to do that, because it takes some work, I would encourage you, talk to Representative Mueller, who can probably share with you who some people might be. And I also am more than willing. Again, I only got a handful of years left on the life. And one of those people who have done many things over the years, this is one of those, what do they call it? Buckets that I would like to do is try to update this law for everybody's rights and liberties and to know really what they all are. Madam Chair, members of the committees, those are my points. And with the technology, you heard it, 35 years ago, there was no such thing as a dart gun. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Neumeister, and we hope that you have more than just a handful of years left. We appreciate your expertise around privacy issues. Are there any other members of the public who would like to testify on this bill? Seeing none, we'll move to member discussion. Great. And I'll just start with a comment of my own. that I do think that it is incredibly important as technology is advancing that we keep privacy top of mind. And I'm glad that Chair Moeller had the opportunity to work with ACLU and Mr. Neumeister to make sure that this is truly narrowly tailored in a way that will achieve its goals without having unintended consequences around surveillance of a lot of other people besides the person who might have stolen this vehicle. So I just wanted to raise that. And it looks like Representative Kieran has something to say.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Chair Moeller, for this bill. I just wanted to share a couple of things about this kind of real world application. And it was only roughly 10 years ago that I was a student in law enforcement. And with my classmates, we were talking about all of the potential things in the future, Batman-like, if you will, type technology where it would really make the public safer, and the job of the officer safer. Because part of what can happen in a pursuit of a vehicle is that officers try to get ahead of the chase and throw out stop sticks on a freeway. And that, as we know, and it has happened, can be disastrous. It's fatal, and it has been fatal. So I just wanted to point out that absolutely this protects our communities and the public, but I think this is a great step in protecting officers as well. So thank you.
Thank you. And Representative Becker-Finn.
Thanks, Chair Feist. I also just wanted to throw out too, if you're breaking the law, you lose some of your privacy rights. And I think this is a great example of it's narrowly tailored, and I really hope that we can move this quickly and get this through to what Representative Curran said. Where it gives us a tool, it gives law enforcement a tool so they don't have to do use the more dangerous tools to still track these vehicles down. And I also wanted to point out, one of the exceptions is consent of the owner of the vehicle. And if you have consent from the owner, there really shouldn't be, there's really no privacy concerns, because the other person driving the vehicle doesn't have a right to be driving the vehicle anyway. So I think this is really a great bill, and I'm hopeful we can get it to the governor's desk sooner than later. Thank you.
Thank you. And Representative Pinto.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just kind of want to take this opportunity to note that this makes me think about innovation and reform in policing in general. So in some of the law enforcement jurisdictions in the community where I'm a prosecutor have really tightened their rules on chases. And have said, that gets to be very, very dangerous when you have a high-speed chase. We know a lot of people have lost their lives in doing that. And I think there was some criticism or some thought like, being soft on crime by doing that. I have charged so many cases where the police, high-speed chase starts, starting to get dangerous, they peel off, they don't pursue. And you know what? Very often we can figure out who's driving that car in various ways. I mean, for one thing, often have a traffic stop, they show the driver's license, and then the person drives away, and they don't have to chase them because now they saw the driver's license in the face. But so often, and so this, to my mind, is another example of innovation in that, right? Being able to not have a high-speed chase situation, be able to retrieve somebody's vehicle. And I think often when we think about reforms and we sort of have a knee-jerk reaction, oh my goodness, whether there's a non-public safety traffic stop or whatever it is, these things, we can think them through, and communities can be kept safe in all the different ways that means, including to not have a high-speed chase going through through a neighborhood. So thanks, Representative Moeller, and thanks, Madam Chair, for the chance to make that broader comment that this bill gave me the chance to do that. Thanks.
Thank you, Representative Pinto. Representative Novotny.
Thank you, Chair. As you might know, I'm the co-author on the bill. I think a lot of great work has been done to clean things up. I think the 24-hour window that Mr. Neumeister brought up, they have to wait till the person goes to the ground. That's the idea of the whole thing. So I remember one particular case I believe you were involved in under Sheriff Martin a year ago, where they went for hours. Even without being chased, they kept going, and that's the kind of situation where when you're not in direct contact with them, they can go for a long time and keep going. So I think that 24-hour window gives a good amount of time to get them a chance to go to the ground. And I was sitting looking at my pointer finger. If anybody wants to stop by later, I can show the scar from, it was my birthday May 26, 2018, where I had a stop stick almost take my trigger finger off. The string got caught wrapped around my finger. So, yeah, it's very dangerous if not done right. And I was a stop stick instructor and did everything I told people not to do. So, yes, anything we can do to get them to slow down and go to the ground sooner than later is a good thing. And I appreciate Chair Mueller for bringing this up and Mr. Martin for testifying.
Thank you, Representative Novotny. Representative Hudson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I just want to add in response to the civil libertarian concerns. First of all, thank you, Chair Mueller, for bringing this bill. It looks like you've done fantastic work putting it together, and I'd like to thank the other members of the committee for your commentary so far. I mean, this is the most kumbaya moment I think we've had in committee on this. When it comes to civil liberties, that's something that I care about a great deal, and a lot of my past work has reflected that. But I think what needs to be recognized is that it's not just the government that we have to be concerned about in violating civil liberties. It's our neighbors as well, right? And as was stated by Representative Becker-Finn, when you make the choice to steal a vehicle past that point, you're losing some of your rights to privacy at the very least, right? And there's also what I think this bill recognizes in the addition of the vehicle having been reported stolen as a qualifier to be able to attach one of these devices is the concept of implied consent. If my car's been stolen, of course I want you to go get it, right? I can't think of a circumstance, and I think somebody would be hard-pressed to find one where somebody's car would be stolen and they wouldn't want law enforcement to take whatever measure they could within reason to retrieve that vehicle. And so I don't see this, especially with how it's so narrowly tailored, it being a concern from a civil liberties perspective, and I'm looking forward to voting for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Very exciting for us to all be pro-civil liberties on this committee. Very important. And any closing comments, Representative Mueller?
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. No, I just really appreciate it. And I would just like to say that this is just one of the many things we're talking about when it comes to violence reduction. And we had Representative Frazier's bill, House File 25, to talk about violence prevention efforts, the BCA crime teams. I know Representative Feist going to have a bill related to juvenile issues, and I know that members across the aisle are really interested in that too. And even today here, we'll hear Representative Whitty's bill. So I just really appreciate the discussion and the desire to work together to solve some of these challenges. I'd also just note too, for Mr. Neumeister's comments about Chapter 626, it really does need to be looked at as a whole. Maybe that's something that the Data Privacy Commission can look on in the interim, might be a good assignment. I don't want to give that assignment to someone who doesn't want it, but I do agree with them that that chapter as a whole should be looked at some point too, but I'm anxious to get this in the governor's hands so we can start utilizing this tool now. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. And with that, Representative Mueller renews her motion to that House File 686 be re-referred to the Committee on Judiciary, Finance, and Civil Law. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion prevails. Ooh, I'm going to gavel because I can do that.